How we doing? My name is Ryan B. Hebert, and welcome back to Series 7 Teams and Cores. Today, we have a wonderful special guest here, BlubVGC. Be sure to follow him at his respective social media channels. But, Blub, how we doing?
Dude, I'm great. I'm having a jam with Series 7 so far, and it might just be my favorite series yet, and the Sword and Shield meta.
We've
So really
definitely heard
excited.
from a few creators already on why they love this series so much,
Mhm.
but tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into Series 7, because we know about Series
Yeah.
7, but we don't know who you are.
All right. Well, my name is Devyn Powers, and I go by BlubVGC online. Um, I'm a California player, and I've kind of just been finding my footing for past like 2, 3 years. I started in 2018, but I really didn't start actually taking the game too super seriously, and I was just kind of in it for the fun at first, until like around 2020, so right before everything happened. But I have a lot of fun with this game, man. I'm super passionate about Pokemon. I have been my whole life. VGC has been, life changing for me. I've met some of the greatest people here. I've had some of the greatest memories here. And I'm really here to make a name for myself.
I think it's an understatement when you say that you've really tried to make an impression for yourself
Yeah.
in the time that you have been in BGC. From
Mhm.
when I first met you, and we've discussed this in prior videos on the channel, you were featured in the previous season of Present the Play, and
Mhm.
the upcoming season of Present the Play as well. So super exciting
Yeah.
stuff
I'm
there.
super
But
too.
overall, you've definitely made an impression on yourself, not only to me and to other players, but also in placings.
Yes. Thank you, man. It means a lot to me.
Of course. Now, getting into the meat of it all
Mhm.
here, Series 7 has
Yes.
provided itself to be a very wonderful metagame, and
Mhm.
there are a lot of creative teams that players are using. What
Yeah.
is your favorite team or core,
Mhm.
and why?
Well, I think there's a lot of good cores right now, Ryan. I think there's actually a lot that's completely unexplored. I actually might even say that there might be as much unexplored as there is explored right now, which is kind of crazy. In a lot of metas, you usually, like we knew Sand was good early on, we knew Togekiss was good.
Hmm.
We knew a lot of things were good immediately coming off the bat just because we had these ideas popping. But I think with the lack of events, um, and the lack of drive that a lot of people have, maybe they have some things in their back pocket, right? I think there's a lot to be explored. That being said, there's still some really good cores coming out. I mean, Colossal just won the Players Cup again. Um, and we have like Nihiligo, Urshifu, Thundurus, and we have kind of like more like an evolution of what we used to have like as more defensive cores alongside Dusclops, Incini, Rillaboom, stuff like that. But
Hmm.
um, a couple weeks ago, I was looking through the top 30 teams that came out in the latter season one of Series 7. And I think Wolf Glick made a video on this, but a lot of the teams looked very unique, right? At that point in the meta, Finny was really popular. I think it was at like 50% usage, which is like really huge for a Pokemon.
Hmm.
But there was only like two or three in the top 30, and that was really shocking to me, honestly. And you saw a lot of Rillaboom, you saw a lot of Zapdos, Grim, Heatran, and I was like, you know what, that's really good. I think, I was struggling to make a team that I really liked. I was not doing so hot. I really liked Series 7, but I just wasn't performing the way I wanted to. But I saw that team and I was like, I think I can take that and run with it. So I made kind of a team um, with that in mind. So the team I've been using lately has been Rillaboom, Glacier, Porygon 2, Grimmsnarl, Zapdos, and Heatran. And Ryan, it's been pretty good.
It sounds pretty bulky.
It's
Like,
very bulky um and it's kind of a team that's resembles some of my past teams, and we'll get into that more later, of course. But um, it's very bulky, and it's really easy to just like decide, hey, I want to go slow this game. Hey, I want to go fast this game. Hey, I want to position this way. It's a very flexible kind of like rubbery team, in my opinion, where you can
okay.
kind of have a lot of defensive pivoting while keeping an amazing amount of offense too.
Yeah, that's really important. I mean, because it's
I
it's one
agree.
thing to be able to pivot really well and to be able
Hmm.
to continue doing that. And I think that's what Wolfie Glick's team was really able
Yeah.
to do well in PC3 or PC2.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going to restart that. I think that's what Wolfie Glick's team in PC2 is really able to do, is that he was able to defensively switch really well with that core four,
Hmm.
and then also just let out an amazing
Yeah,
amount of offense. And so I think you're right on the
absolutely.
money right there.
Hmm. And of course, I've run into issues with this team too. Um, you know, fire types that can easily avoid ground coverage from Heatran or have ground coverage themselves have been really annoying. So I could see myself adding a water type to this team in the future, maybe. Also, what was that I ran today? Regigigas Wheezing has actually been surprisingly tough too. So, kind of the name of the game, you find something you like, you take one step forward, you take another step back, you take it two steps forward, you take another step back, kind of
Yeah.
the whole editing process. So I'm kind of right in the middle of that now. So I'm actually I love that feeling, man. If you get knocked down a couple times, I think a lot of players kind of kick kick the rock and, get all angry, but I think that's when a player really shines is how they adapt their team, how they adapt themselves too, and how to play better. So I'm looking forward to that part too.
Yeah, that's a super solid take, Devin.
Mhm.
I think a lot of players in Series 7 have been able to find success in teams that work
Yes.
for them, and then
Mhm.
also have struggled. I
Oh
personally, in
yeah.
the past few weeks, have been like, and you know it. Every
Yeah.
Friday, you're on your Twitch stream, and you're telling me, hey, do you want to do a best of three? And I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, no, I
No,
don't
it's all
have
good.
anything ready. That sort of thing, and
Uh-huh.
so it takes time in this series to find stuff
Yes.
that can work well, but once you're
Mhm.
able to do so and sort of open yourself up to really any of the possibilities that exist, there's a lot of fun to be had.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think there's never any shame in losing either, Um, I think, the competitive spirit of me, I hate losing, I if if somebody beats me, even if they're a friend, that fire in me gets a little bit brighter, but, I think being able to temper that fire and be like, "All right, I lost, but this is how I'm gonna win next time," is really important, and I've struggled a ton in this series too. I mean, I think I think I've probably lost more than I've won, honestly, but I've been having an absolute blast playing and improving myself and, getting more into Twitch and stuff. It's been really great.
And we'll go over the ways that people can follow you at the end of this as
Yeah,
well,
that'd be great.
because I want to be sure that people are following along with the type of content that you're creating, because you definitely are a content creator worth
Yeah,
watching.
thank you,
I mean,
man. Yeah,
that's
I'm
why I
I'm I'm
got you
super
here.
pumped about it.
Yeah. So speaking of your team, now
Mhm.
there's a lot there, and I think you briefly mentioned that you take inspiration from some previous teams, and with this Series 7 team. Is there any history with this team specifically, or any of the cores on this team that kind of you
Yeah.
pulled from VGC 20 or maybe 19 or 18?
Absolutely. So, this year in particular, I don't know if it's just because I think this has been kind of the first year I've tried really like hard. I put my entire heart into VGC, or what. But earlier on this year, I had a lot of success in Dallas regionals. just missed cut, but even so, I was really proud of the finish. With so many people at that regional, it was the largest regional in Pokemon history, and I
It
was
was
able to get
amazing.
38. Yeah, it was. It's one of the most proud. Like that was one of the most proudest moments of my life, honestly, just being able to do that. And, I had a team that I felt really worked for me. And, this is a Series 2 team, obviously wouldn't be good anymore, but it was, Arcanine, Whimsicott, Corviknight, Jellicent, Mudsdale, and Hydreigon. And it was a very similar team in the fact that, they had a slow mode, it had a fast mode, there was glue holding it together, like supportive glue. The types were all very um, kind of spread out. There was a lot of combo potential. And I've kind of always searched for that. I don't know if you can look at my past teams too. I've kind of always searched for that kind of feeling right from that team. Um, and that was what I kind of initially was reminded of, like when I looked at those top 30 teams and I saw, Rillaboom, Heatran, Grimmsnarl, Zapdos is kind of like a core. I was like, that really resonates with what I think that kind of team idea and composition would evolve into. Um, Porygon 2 and Glacier just kind of felt like a nice fit at the end. I know a lot of people opt for Dusclops. Personally, I'm a Porygon 2 fan, so I've been using it, but I don't think Dusclops is off the table either. So, I think it's more so like me building off of my past success and past failures to just kind of keep trying to nail the team. Of course, you also have to be mindful that you might be sticking to your guns too much too, and be willing to change. But for right now, I think.
Say that last part for me.
Oh, for
Discord.
sure. So, I think sometimes, like, so a player will find something that works, right? Like it's certain kind of team composition. Um, and my worry has been that since, this is kind of a team composition that's been working for me, I could get kind of tunnel visioned into it needs to be this way, it needs to be that way and stuff.
Mhm.
I think that's kind of a trap. So I'm trying to make sure that I don't fall into that trap. It's just a team. If it doesn't work at the end of the day, like you gotta let it go. Because it's the player, it's not the team. And but for right now it's working. So we'll see how far I can take this team.
That's well said, Devin. And I want to point out a common theme between yourself and some other creators and really
Okay.
talented players is that the
Hmm.
way you were team building, referencing this fast and slow mode, I think
Hmm.
almost every top player recognizes that sticking to one solid mode
Hmm.
is sometimes a trap, especially in
Yes.
this
Yeah.
metagame right now.
Hmm.
We've had previous formats where you can go salt like full trick room or like super fast tailwind and deny trick room, and that's perfectly fine. But with Series 7, I think people are really finding a decent middle ground and building teams
Hmm.
where instead of building around specific Pokemon, you're looking to fill specific roles. And
Yes.
from hearing you describe how you're building your team, this is a common thing that I think a lot of players miss out on when they're first team building is that
Hmm.
you're not just building with certain Pokemon, because you can anyone can look at Pikalytics and go, here are the top 6 Mons. I
Yeah.
wonder if they make a good team.
Yeah.
You want to be looking deeper than that, and you want to be looking
Yeah.
at what roles can your team fill. And so this is something that you and, for instance, Nathan Ortiz, who I had on
Hmm.
in an earlier episode that was posted recently, he is all about filling different team roles, and
Oh,
he's
absolutely.
super open to swapping things in and out, no matter what. And so you talking about, if a team doesn't work at the end of the day, switch it up, and that
Yeah.
is
No,
totally
absolutely.
true. And it's very rare that you can have a player who will stick to something and that it will work time in and
Yeah.
time again. And I really, the only person I can truly think of where
Mhm.
that's the case has to be Mr. Max Stees with Pikachu. Other than
Uh,
that,
yeah,
it's
I've
pretty
heard about him.
rare. Yeah, he's
Mhm.
an amazing player who somehow makes Pikachu work on every single team. Um, and
The
it's
real
amazing.
protagonist.
It's really the real protagonist. I
Yeah.
had the special privilege at the beginning of Series 7 and Sword and Shield to like
Mhm.
work with him and to
Okay.
like to build Pikachu teams because I was like, bro, we need to build a Pikachu team together. And he was like, yeah,
That
I'm so
sounds
down.
fun.
And so it was so much fun to be able to do that.
Great.
And but for a lot of players, that's not the case. That's not how it works.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
filling those specific team roles and finding what works best on the team is something that I
Oh,
think
absolutely.
across all boards on like players who are doing really well like yourself, that is the common theme. And so hopefully people, watching this today are able to kind of pick up on that and like kind of dig deeper into thinking about,
Yeah,
okay, how can my team
absolutely.
operate in a slower mode? How can it operate in a faster mode?
Mhm.
And, we're bringing up P2 versus Dusclops. Dusclops, in this format versus 2018, it was really funny because while Dusclops was legal, it really wasn't that usable because Porygon 2 was just that much better with all of the Ultra Beasts running around. And
Yeah.
in this format, now that Pichu's back in things because of the DLC, it has a lot of people saying, okay, let's look at 2018 and go, well, when P2 was around with Dusclops, P2 was the better choice because of
Mhm.
the fact that, well, it just could do a little bit more than Dusclops could at the time because
Yeah,
things weren't as stally and you didn't have Dynamax, right? You had Z
for
moves
sure.
instead that could just totally blow up
Yeah.
Dusclops in an instant. And so here we are, and really, I think I like to describe it, and I've said it already, more of a middle ground where people are finding different ways to kind of make things work, but they
Mhm.
continue to keep working instead of like
For sure.
putting yourself in a ditch trying to make something work so hard that you just keep digging deeper.
Yeah. I'm actually really glad that you brought Dynamax because obviously that's like a very big, um, battle condition going on right now. And compared to 2018, things are very different. There's a lot of Pokemon that were very good in 2018 that are still around. A lot, some of them, not as much, right? But either in any case, I think you're right. Dusclops still has a good niche because it's so good at proccing policies on Dynamax Pokemon. And
Hmm.
we started the year saying, "Oh, that's just kind of a gimmick," but as we went on in the year, it's a very dependable battle strategy. And I think going back to the point about having different speed tiers in a team, I think it's that much easier now to do that with teams because of how many dynamic speed stat Pokemon came out in the Crown Tundra, right?
Hmm.
Like we have a lot of legendaries that are on the slower side, like Heatran, Cresselia, and then you have stuff like Zapdos and Thundurus, really fast, and then things in the middle too, like Moltres and Landorus, right? So the speed, I think, if anything, has really changed from Series 7 to Series 6 I mean, Series 7 has been the options we have now in speed, right? We have so many, like we have more fast Pokemon, we have more slow Pokemon, and I think for players like myself that really, thrive with teams that kind of play into both of those roles, I think I really had a benefit in that because I have more tools to work with now. I think, and I think a lot of players do as well.
Well said, Devin. I just want to thank you for coming on today
Of
and for
course, dude,
giving
I'm
us
so
your
happy
thoughts
to.
and some of your background on how you team build because it's just
Thank you so much.
it's
Yeah,
really helpful for me and I
great.
hope
Yeah,
helpful for the viewers here today. Now, tell us how we can follow you, watch you, like
yeah.
all that stuff.
Well, thank you again so much for this opportunity. I'm so grateful that you had me on today, and I'm really looking forward to present the
Dude,
play.
anytime.
Um, of course, man. And you can find me on Twitter at BlubVGC and on Twitch at BlubVGC, both BLUBVGC. I post Pokemon thoughts and content on. You can connect with me more on Twitch. I'm always looking to say hey. It's never a bother, and always come by my Twitch channel, say hey. We have a really fun time, win or lose, um, ally switch or not.
True.
We have a good time, and I really put an emphasis on improving. Like I think the latter. Another thing, just to get my thought in there real quick, is
Go for it.
I think the latter is something people misjudge a lot. I think, you can have a big fancy number, and that's great. If you are in, top 100 on Battle Stadium, top 100 on Showdown, that's great. Good for you. That's a great accomplishment. But I don't think I don't think you should put that number over your ability to practice and analyze your games. I think if you or you're playing on ladder, you should always try to take notes and you should always try to look back at your games because I think that's really what it's for. And and when I stream on Twitch, we make a big emphasis of doing that. Like I'll be the first to admit if I make a mistake, and I make mistakes all the time. I've had great accomplishments. I still make mistakes. And I'll look through that and I'll acknowledging those mistakes and then learning from those mistakes, I think is how you get better at this game.
Most competitive games these days,
Yeah,
Devin,
I think all competitive games,
they
if you wanna
they
be the best,
require you to go back
I
and
lose too.
to see what you've done, even if you've done it right, because you want to be
Mhm.
sure that if you're in that situation again next time, you
For sure.
do close to
Yeah.
the same thing, if not the same thing.
Yeah, no, making sure you look back and see what you did right is just as important, I think.
Well, Devin, thank you once again.
Thank you so much, man, I really
Wonderful
appreciate
to
it.
have you here. And folks,
Great.
thank you for tuning into this episode of Series 7 Teams and Cores. We'll be back very soon with another episode. Until then, stay tuned. How we doing?